Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the HR and Payroll 2.0 podcast. I'm Pete Tiliakis, and as always, I'm joined by the legendary Julie Fernandez. Welcome, Julie.
Thanks so much, Pete. And I couldn't be more excited about talking with our guest today, comes from one of the giants, size-wise, that are out there from companies and HR. So why don't you do the honors of introducing Monica?
Yeah. Well, we have the privilege of inviting a lot of great people on the show. And I love when we have practitioners and leaders on the front lines of what's going on out there. I'm really thrilled to welcome Monica Miller. She is the Senior Vice President of Payroll and Workforce Strategy at Compass Group. Managing a super payroll, as you're going to find out. So, and doing some amazing things. So welcome, Monica. I'm so excited to have you.
So great to be here, Pete. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. This is, we talked on the source, we've talked privately, and I'm like, our listeners here at HR and Payroll 2.0 have to learn from what you're doing. I think you're living a lot of what I've been writing about in the research, and just hoping more companies adopt. So yeah, let's do it, man. Yeah. So Julie, you want to get us started?
I will indeed. Monica, almost never do we find folks that intentionally got into this industry, just wishing to be an HR or a payroll person. So we love to ask where and how you ended up in the industry, and then why do you stay?
So it's a long story, but to cut through the chase, it's all about challenge. And payroll is such a challenge each and every day. Payroll over the last 20 years has been about the ability to understand configuration and data and so many other aspects that leads payroll into a whole different realm. And it's been a passion because payroll's not easy, and it's not for the faint-hearted.
So true. And I love to talk. I've been talking a lot in the last couple of years just about all the different places your career can go, right? I feel like a Dr. Seuss book sometimes, the places you'll go. You can really navigate across so many different areas when you start in payroll or end up in payroll, because payroll has to know everything.
That is so true. And I think these days, payroll, and particularly in large organizations, payroll is all about the data and being able to manage the data and the configuration within systems and understanding testing methodology and the ability to leverage data. And the payroll community is so positioned to take the forefront of that. And I've been a witness of that over the last 15 years. And it's the payroll community and the skill set of the payroll community is transforming. And it's absolutely beautiful.
What was the entrance way into it for you? Was it I tripped and fell and landed in payroll, or did you find your way by way of college? What happened?
Tripped and fell.
Yep. We all do.
So first generation through college, and happened to study Arabic on the side of a business degree at University of Texas at Austin. And
Longhorns. Yeah, you're a Longhorn.
That's right. Anyway, that Arabic, Navy intelligence approached me. And I'd been so poor for so many years working my way through college. I took the Navy intelligence and leveraged my Arabic for 4 years with Navy intelligence. And then I landed in payroll. And payroll is so much about data and systems. And what I didn't realize, I have a love for language, but the love for language translates into love for systems. And I've learned that over the years.
Monica, I did not know you're a veteran.
Yes.
I was just looking at I never scrolled that far down. You're a lieutenant commander?
Yes.
Yes. In intelligence?
Yes.
In the Navy?
Yes.
Wow. Tell me, we got to go back to that.
All right. But then I'm going back to our touch point, which is the love for languages. So you first.
Yeah. We got to get that. So, okay, hold on. You come out of college. Were you like in the ROTC or something? Or did you fell into that?
No. So that's a very good question. And I'll keep it short because at the time I didn't run, I didn't shoot guns, I didn't do anything military related.
Yeah.
But the military was so interested in my Arabic, and there weren't very many young blonde women bopping around that spoke Arabic
With the Arabic. Yeah.
in the 90s. And so I just told him, it's like, okay, I'm not going to officer candidate school, and I don't shoot guns. But at the end of the day, it was an absolutely beautiful, and I was based out of Haverford, West Wales, and mobilized out of there,
Wow.
various assignments.
Well, thank you for your service. I did
Yes.
not know that. I'm a Marine. I spent 4 years in the Marines myself, so we're on the same team, obviously, Department of the Navy. But wow, that's so cool. I did not know that about you.
I'm just going to say we are kindred spirits, and I wouldn't have ever guessed, but I'm a bit of a language nut myself. And when I came back from spending a year in France, I was ahead of graduation schedule. So I took Arabic. I'd learned some in France living there, and I wanted to learn to read and write. So I did a couple of years. And my last year of college was just every class was a language class because I had plenty of things to grade. And I was like, well, what do I do with this? I don't want to be a teacher. I don't want to. So I can completely imagine how you fell into, your career with the military because the CIA was all I could think of. And I thought, I don't know if they have great pay grades either. So
Yeah.
I know.
I don't know what
You
to
know,
do with this.
What's interesting and how it translates to payroll is I had no idea. I didn't realize in the beginning, but systems and technology, it's a language.
Mhm.
Yes.
And so it was a great translation. And from the very beginning in my career in payroll, I loved systems, and I loved the language of systems.
I love it.
That's
So
awesome.
Monica, you obviously, so you leave the Navy, right? And is that because you're done with the Navy, or do you have a job opportunity? Like, what pulls you into the payroll world after that?
Okay, so that's a good question. So I was in the Navy for 4 years, then another 15 years, with NATO and intelligence, in the reserve side. But, I got married and my husband, and all of a sudden, I just landed in payroll, and all of my friends were CPAs. My friends were CPAs and MBAs, and they're like, "Payroll, what are you talking about?" I don't know. It's like, "This thing looks really good."
Yeah.
It has been, after 30 years, the translation of data and the ability to move payroll forward has been the greatest expertise, I think, and I think there's so much opportunity for payroll.
Yeah. I wish more military folks would look at HR and payroll as a path. I think it could do a lot of with the leadership element, and how well I mean, at least I know in the Marines how well we're taught to lead and care for people, and just so much to that. I wish more, and the challenge of it, right? You like you said, I think there's a lot of but there's so much reward in being a part of that world. I just don't know that people coming out of the military even think about it as an option for them.
And I will tell you one quick story. The Marines, I did have to do a quick stint, with the Marines at UT Austin.
Awesome.
And the first thing I had to do was, rappel off the UT stadium. Um,
Yep.
there was a gunning sergeant, and I was the only woman in the group, and he's like, "Who's going first?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'll go first." Well, it didn't turn out so well. They said, "Don't let the
Yep.
hand come
Breaks.
out."
Your breaks. Yeah.
Well, I was hanging upside down,
Oh yeah.
from the UT stadium, and this gunny had to come down, and, anyway, he helped, and he had a few choice words.
I always did okay on the walls when you could walk down kind of back, the rappelling backwards down the wall, you just bounce. But when I did the helo skid one, I fruit basket. I just went right, right underneath it. So I had to remediate that one. But
So you won't believe this, but I actually my college friend circle were a lot of ROTC guys, and we would go on campus where we were not supposed to be rappelling off of
oh
parking
yeah,
structures and down stairwells, and that was part of our entertainment.
I always tell people
College
that
stuff.
the military is really, I mean, at least the Marines, it's college with guns. If you want to be honest, it's just crazy. It's crazy college, college age kids just trying not to get in trouble, and trying to wait for the next thing to be, their next assignment. So, wow. Thank you so much for your service, Monica. This is amazing. I did not realize you were an intelligence officer. So that would be like S3 or 2 intelligence.
2.
Two. Okay. All right. Interesting. Very cool. I love it. I love it. So did you retire then from the reserve after?
No, no.
No.
So I 4 years active, 15 years reserves. My husband was working internationally, and
Yeah. Wow.
I ended up not being able to finish, but loved every moment of it. Was with NATO in all of my reserve.
Wow. Interesting. Well, that's so awesome. Well,
Very
thank you
cool.
again. I love it. I did not know that about you. So again, thank you. I'm glad you found your way to payroll. But I want to talk now about your current role. You're doing some amazing, amazing things at Compass. I'm sure some of it is probably driven by, just the transformation that company's going through, and many companies are going through. But I'd love to talk about like your environment. Like, what is Compass for those that don't know? What's the culture like? What are you kind of dealing with when you think about the scope of your payroll and HR within your company?
Yeah. So Compass, we are the largest contract food service company in the world in 30 plus countries, 500,000 plus employees, 300,000
Wow.
plus in the US. And I look after the US. And the culture with Compass has always been a very, very caring environment. I've been with Compass for almost 26 years. And the love and caring has been amazing. Everything, even through all the changes over the years, the '08, '09 crisis, COVID, etc., Compass was always focused on the associates.
Yeah.
Isn't that
That's
awesome?
amazing.
Another place where the culture is real and it's a positive. I mean, like a real draw because, so many times we hear people say, you can't fake the culture. If it's not there, it's
Yeah.
not there, and it's really hard to change.
So true.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely real. The leadership of Compass, I've said for many, many years, has been phenomenal.
Yeah. You're a portfolio company, right? So is there kind of an overarching group leadership team, and then there's individual leadership, executive leadership, or how is?
Yes. So we've grown through acquisition, and we have call it 25, 28 different companies, and in that we've through those acquisitions, the CEOs and CFOs and the leadership teams have largely remained the same. And we allow, and through definition, Gary Green, who brought Compass to the US in 1997 or 1998, I think, that it was an intentional strategy to allow the companies to retain. If we purchased a company, it's because they did the best.
Yeah.
And so, yes. So, and while, that's great from a branding perspective, from an HR payroll perspective, it also introduces complexities
Yeah.
because every company has their different policies and their different needs. But it's also challenged us over the years to get really good leveraging data and systems to accommodate what these different disparate companies need.
So Monica, I want to come back to that because like that autonomy, right? Is that autonomy only in their policies and procedures and maybe unions and things they do, or do you allow them their own systems? Or are you guys operating on harmonized systems? I think it's the latter.
It is the latter,
Yeah.
harmonized systems. But to be fair, it's taken 10, 15 years to get there. But
Yeah.
largely, all systems are harmonized now. And I'll define that as time and attendance, the HR system, the accounting system. And of course, everything translates over time and things continue to morph. But it took a long time. We have 290,000 employees now on our time and attendance system.
Wow.
And that took, a good decade to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. So you still have more work to do to bring them on to harmonize workforce management for them?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Are you all on the same core HR then?
Yes.
Okay, that's it. Okay, that's great. That's a great foundation. And then hopefully that's in the cloud. But what about your payroll? Are you doing the same thing for payroll? Are you on a harmonized payroll globally or a mix?
Harmonized US,
Okay.
globally, there it's a bit disparate.
Yeah.
But US, yes, harmonized. And thank goodness over time through the data and all the audits and the data science team that we have in payroll, they've been able to predict and prevent all
Yeah.
types of issues. And our error rate in payroll as a result of the data science team is less than a half a percentage point
Wow.
every week on 300,000 employees.
That's incredible. And you still have more to bring forward, right? Bring together.
Yes, and, the growth over the years to come, expecting another, couple 100,000 over the
Yeah.
next 3 years.
Impressive. You guys are like continuously iterating, I feel like, I mean, especially with your mergers and acquisitions, right?
Yes, and
Yeah.
just through organic growth, we're growing 25,000 employees, 20 to 25,000 employees every year
Wow.
through organic growth.
That's an enterprise by itself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
Yeah, I think my brain returned to my head, I think, in the last couple of seconds. But I hope that people recognize that, you're in an amazing spot now, but where you were in the beginning must have been just crazy, ridiculously difficult because the multiple different opcos, and some people struggle with 6 or 8 opcos, adds a complexity beyond. It's like, your 51 flavors or whatever Haagen-Dazs has now. Everybody is different and
Yeah.
everybody has their own branding and their own requirements. And I just don't know if people can, who haven't worked for a structured organization like yours, can really appreciate
Yeah.
how incredibly crazy that is.
Oh, yes, totally crazy. When you're dealing with, call it 25 plus different companies, and, the goal is to allow, there to be autonomy within those companies. It also requires a little bit of creativity to work through the various payroll requirements. And, to be honest with you, it was the reason I started this journey with Compass because it was a complete disaster and absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I think your word was the challenge, right? Holy cow.
I love challenges. And good news is now, and the way it should be is payroll should never be a topic of conversation.
Yeah.
And, less than 0.5% error rate and under the
Amazing.
radar, and nobody should think about it.
Amazing. Monica, this is just my observation. I'm just curious I wanted to ask you this today. In all the times that we've talked, right? I have never heard you use the words transformation. In other words, to say that like it's almost like you guys aren't and I want you to clarify this. Are you guys on a transformation journey, or is it more just that you're living a lifestyle of continuous improvement as a culture? I think it's the latter. It sounds like.
Oh my goodness. So Pete, that's a good question. I think we are transformational. And I honestly, now that you bring it up, we've led transformation.
Yeah.
We started with just trying to get the paychecks right, easy,
Yeah.
right? Well, not easy.
Yeah.
But then that led into the data focus and developing this data science team that then allowed for a strategic advantage with the company and being able to predict and prevent unnecessary labor spend. And
Yeah.
I didn't think about it as a transformation, but
Yeah.
you're right. Payroll has transformed in Compass Group.
Yeah.
You just mentioned this transformation team, and I am super excited to hear about about the data scientist team that you have, because I know that's a
Yeah.
very unique, forward-thinking thing, and I can hardly wait to hear more about
Yeah.
having a
You have 3
dedicated
data
team for that.
scientists.
Where it started was back with just trying to get payroll right. And what I didn't realize, I knew we'd get payroll right, but what I never really saw coming was that not only the data science team would become experts on all financial data, both, payroll, HR, accounting, all that data. What I didn't see coming was it spread to the rest of the payroll team in that the data science team needed requirements, methodology, strategy, in order to begin to move different initiatives forward. And all of a sudden, over the payroll team started to change, and it moved from a transactional function to a data-oriented function, and customer service with a different acumen with data, and customer service, and that people were literally able to start thinking of categorizing issues and understanding how to promote change and
Yeah.
how to test things.
How much work did you have to do to come to this ability to do this? Because it's easy to hire a data scientist, but can you actually be ready to actually do anything? You must have had to do some work to get your data healthy to even get to the point to say, hey, we're ready to have data scientists.
Yes,
How much work was that?
it was a lot. And
Yeah.
I used to always say, when you get the data, it's game over. And even data acquisition is the first hurdle that is so difficult. But once you get that data and getting that data, cleansing that data, and controlling that data is the beginning of being able to move more into strategic value for the
Yeah.
payroll organization. So to answer your question, Pete, it's very difficult. And
Yeah.
and to be honest with you, it's hard because payroll isn't usually the one to demand data,
You're right.
um, and to fight to get the data, but it's the data that unleashes and unlocks that strategic value.
You're singing our song.
I
I
know.
mean, oh my gosh, it's
You're
wonderful.
living it. You're living it. So is this something that you had to go and pitch with leadership, or was it more of a top down, hey, we need data. What do we need to do to get payroll data at the table as well? Or was it sort of maybe you met in the middle?
That's a really good question also. It was bottom up,
Okay.
and I didn't realize it at the beginning, to be honest with you. But it was just a complete belief in data and knowing that data gets things right. If you can get the data, you can control the accuracy of payroll, number one. Then once we got that, we fell into a new strategic value of all the data, the finance, the payroll, the HR data. And to be honest with you, I didn't see it. I didn't plan for it. But what happened was once we got really good at getting the paychecks right, oh my gosh, it just unleashed on all
Yeah.
this value. And it was and so for us, it was about proving where the strategic value was beyond paycheck
Right.
accuracy, beyond that,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
where the unnecessary labor spend is. And proving that and talking to, at the time, 15 CFOs to prove to them that our calculations were not just, thumb in the sky. And
Yeah.
once everybody believed it, then we started a journey and we've branded it. It's called Smart
Wow.
Labor.
Yeah. So control the accuracy led you to being able to control a narrative too around being more strategic. And
Yes.
Yeah.
and I heard earlier in what you were saying, Monica, so clearly, that that you had the instant upskilling. It was almost accidental, right? And
Yep.
it kind of like you had all this stuff and you weren't anticipating it, but it changed the DNA of your payroll team itself. And who wouldn't kill for the upskilling, just to kind of happen by
Well,
accident or by
that's a great
osmosis?
question. That's a great question, though, Julie. Monica, did you have those skills in the team, or did you have to go and bring those into the team? And did you get them from inside the company or outside, or?
So we grew the skill set. And particularly on the data science side, where it all started, we couldn't afford, at the time, to convince leadership that we needed to spend a ton of money for a data science team. So literally, first guy that we hired was a chef. Love for you guys to talk to him some days. His name
Wow.
And
Please.
Russ,
Yeah.
Russ
Yeah.
was a chef, but he was self taught in, various aspects of technology. And
Wow.
we really wanted to do this. And so Russ was our number one. And then we built the team over time because as you acquire, in our acquisition mode, we were bringing on 20, sometimes 30,000 employees at a time each
Wow.
year. And you cannot do that
Right.
without a strong data and methodology, force. And Russ and team started that. Then once we acquired everybody, got everybody on well, and the accuracy was great. Then we started building the data science team even further, and that took us into identifying a 3% productive labor reduction.
Wow. Wow.
I'm so excited about
I
the
know.
snippets here. Like, the first data scientist was a chef. I hired him
I know.
because he was ready to do this. "Hello, HR, wake
I,
up."
I'm envisioning the guy, the Muppet from
Yeah,
the Muppet Show. He's
right.
throwing it all away. The Swedish Chef, right? Yeah. So Monica, how did that? So you guys start doing this, right? You got this data now. You're trusting it. Obviously, you've laid the foundation, which I think is really important to underscore. You got to have a foundation to get that data going. What did that do to your role personally? Like, how did it change what you were focused on day to day versus what you were focused on before? And how did you begin to sort of socialize that data outward?
Good question. So the change was the great control of data, and we knew that the data it was controlled, it was cleansed, and it was usable. And from that, we started to develop a new idea of how to reduce unnecessary labor spend. And we started, I'm an accountant by background. And we started with something as simple as just reconciling what policy and regulation says to what the data said. And
Right.
only because the data guys and girls were so good at this point, it became easy. And then we just monetized it and then socialized that monetized value. And that became the step into productivity where the real game is.
Yeah.
But it was a pivot point, if you will, between payroll and productivity, and being able to show that payroll is not just getting and keeping paychecks right. Payroll is about leveraging all the data concatenated from various different areas and understanding where it can be of strategic value to the company.
Wow. Did it change your role at all?
It did.
What you do day to day anyway?
Yeah, it did. So, my role initially was focused on payroll. And then with the advent and creation of smart labor and productivity of workforce strategy, it changed my role to focusing more on the workforce strategy and how we could begin to leverage workforce management tools to improve productivity for the company.
Yeah. Wow.
I know there are folks that are just gonna be dying to ask, what measuring what, right? So all of the strength of the data that you're bringing together to be more strategic and to prove some of these values, but what are some of the low-hanging fruit or most impactful, things that you've found through your team you've been measuring?
So the number one measurement is labor as a percent of, for us, sales. For some companies, it could be labor as a percent of revenue. And in that, we began to identify what were some of the triggers that increased the headwinds in labor. So, one easy low hanging fruit, and it's so easy, is whatever company policy you have. And I honestly think it's company agnostic and even country agnostic, is whatever your policy or your regulation is, what's actually happening, because what should be happening isn't what is happening 9
Right.
times out of 10. And that's what we found. and there was a probably a 1% productive labor opportunity just in following policy and regulation. And then that also blends into, the avoidance of litigation risk and
Yep.
simplification for the field managers and not having to redo.
Incredible. When you think about these mergers that you guys are doing, the mergers and acquisitions, that's a project for payroll and HR. And it's not something that a lot of companies are very good at. I think some of the bigger companies like yourself that are moving fast and making a lot of acquisitions, obviously they build a skill set around it. But to what extent do you feel that you developed a playbook, if you will, that you could then, and how well do you play and I guess plug in with HR? And because it's important that you be in lockstep when you're going through those. From my experience, you've got to really there's a lot of handoffs, there's a lot of timing, there's a lot of decision making sometimes. There's a lot of compliance that has to be considered, all kinds of things, right? Talk about that in terms of what you've developed with the HR team in terms of how you guys are able to execute on those as a synergistic sort of group.
Yeah, the synergies with HR is absolutely critical. And we've been in lockstep with HR and legal, along the way. And we have a big union population, so also labor relations within HR.
Right.
And that synergy is really, really critical. And with that also is, I think, the integration methodology to convert the data and to come up with a testing methodology that ensures 100% accuracy on day one. And I think that with all those synergies, we were able to come up with this data centric approach and the people centric approach to yield the end result of no paycheck errors, even with our largest integration, which was 30,000.
Monica, I'm curious to know, with the unions, in addition to your opcos, have you been able to, through data or through harmonization, to kind of get in front of what are some of the labor issues that become bargaining items that frustrate so many HR and payroll people because you can't influence those until after some agreement has already been reached. Any chance you've found some secret sauce there?
So that's a great question. Answer is no. Um, but also on that is top priority. And I think now we're starting to work on some things that will position us. And HR and legal we're all coming together to come up with that because we need to get ahead of the bargaining. That's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
really, really good question.
This is going to
Yeah.
be magic pixie dust. I can't wait till you start to crack that
Oh,
nut because
Yeah.
we're going to have to talk to you again.
Yeah.
it's a very good question. Thank you.
Yeah. I've been through some of that, Monica. So come talk to me. I will compare notes on that one. I've been through it with in Hollywood. It's pretty crazy. So just kind of coming back to this, like, talk to me about your leadership and maybe your corporate executives. How are you guys looking at AI, like as a company, before we even talk payroll and HR?
It's a huge priority to the extent that we have an AI group that now reports directly into the CEO. And as a payroll group and a workforce strategy group, we're completely focused on AI in three areas to start with. One is fraud, labor fraud, and I think we've got a huge edge on that. Number two is scheduling, and number three is overpayments. And
Okay.
the AI group is helping us in tandem with our data science group. And the AI group is leveraging, I think it's what the data science group has done over the last couple years has become a prelude
Hmm.
into the AI because they're able to very effectively define
Wow.
requirements and results that have been achieved thus far, etc. And the AI group is now taking it to a different level.
Wow. Are you live with that in at this point, or are you still you are?
Yes, we are live. And in fact, we have our first couple case studies that the AI team is proving. And in fact, I think we're probably going to be able to complete those in the next week.
Wow, that's impressive. And are you then, I would take it, rolling it out to other use cases, maybe inquiry support or compliance, anything like that,
Yeah,
governance?
increased support. Governance is one that we're considering and would love to hear you guys' ideas on that.
Yeah,
But
that's a
governance
Julie.
is a big one.
Yeah, that's a Julie pet peeve.
Indeed.
I mean, this is so impressive, Monica. I mean, I can't even. I got so many questions. I could just keep on. But so, talk to me about your seat at the table, because that's something that I think is like elusive for sometimes HR, but even definitely for payroll. What does a seat at the table look like for you at Compass, just given all these circumstances and all these, investments and sort of progress that you've made?
So for me, it means being with the CEOs and CFOs and given the 28-ish companies that we have, being able to hear the operators' needs strategically at a senior level is really critical. And having developed the productivity function that we did layered on top of payroll that we call smart labor, bought us a seat at that table. And we have monthly meetings with the CEOs and CFOs. And those meetings and the senior operators, which with each of the companies,
Specifically with payroll, you're having these meetings.
yes,
Yeah.
just yes, payroll and productivity. And through that, there's been a new partnership that's been gained that helps us understand. We always knew the number one thing is get the paychecks right, right?
Yeah.
And that's not easy. But once you do that, then beyond that, what's the strategic value for every company? It could be different. For Compass, since labor is over half of the P&L, for Compass, it's about avoiding unnecessary labor spend, and
Right.
the data lends to that. And partnering with the CEOs and getting that position at the table is really an honor. And
Yeah.
the partnership that we've developed with the CEOs and CFOs over the last couple of years has just been phenomenal. But it's a matter of proof
Yeah.
because payroll is normally seen as a back office function and not seen as a strategic leader. And I think what we have done is change that dynamic and have proven, and you have to prove your space. We've proven the strategic value of payroll and being able to prove it through the data. And the data science team has just been absolutely critical. And one thing I'm probably going to talk about more over the years to come is I think payroll has changed and the tactical nature of payroll is in the rearview mirror. And we need strategic positioning. And I think people and skill sets like data scientists,
Yeah.
it's changing.
Yeah.
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 I think we need more MBA types coming into
MBAs,
yeah,
absolutely.
I really do.
I think there's something ingenious, Monica, about calling it, about pairing payroll and productivity. Because, as many times as Pete and I have talked with folks about finding a seat at the table or making a seat at the table, by pairing those two things together, the shift almost from the pairing of the words is away from the effectiveness or the efficiency, the productivity of the payroll team, which is very small, to the shift to the effectiveness and the productivity of this ginormous workforce that you have and, all of the labor bits. And I just don't know, like that has not been clearer to me in the last 3 years that Pete and I have been having these conversations than in this conversation with you. It's just genius.
You know what?
Yeah.
So that's a really good point. And I think that also leads to, in the early stages of our journey and getting those paychecks right, it was all about scalability and leveraging data and technology to grow the business, but without proportionately growing the payroll team. So I have this graph that shows the number of FTEs from 40,000 to 300,000 and the number of FTEs that is not proportionately grown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only way you do that is through automation and data. And then through that journey, what happened, unbeknownst to us at the time, was then we developed a skill set, and all of a sudden you've got, people that have been, on this team for 15, 20 years that have grown through this data and this
Yeah.
expectation of, no, we're going to do more with less, and
Right.
we're going to do it smarter and more efficient.
Yeah. Are you empowering the employees in the same way? Are you pushing AI down to the employees either through your HCM or your payroll or just internally somehow where they have help with scheduling or any of the use cases on the front line there?
Oh my gosh, that's a good question. Yes. So that's the next evolution that we've started with, is AI and scheduling, and that's where the AI team is really helping
Awesome.
out now.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great. So do your employees have mobile access and things like that to the pay slips and all that?
They do, and yes,
Like how important is that to your environment for your productivity, right? That self-serve.
it's absolutely huge because it's a prelude into the gig economy. And for some companies like us, being able to share labor pooling, gig work is critical, and you can't do it without the mobile. And there's a direct correlation between people working more hours and turnover reduction.
Yeah.
And we have, let's call it 60,000 employees that are working less than 34 hours a week.
Yeah.
And if they pick up another shift, we've seen the turnover as they pick up shifts, the turnover reduces.
Yeah.
Mhm,
And the
mhm.
Wow.
mobile and that employee self-service is critical.
A lot of
And
relief for the managers too, right? We've
yes.
all been there, like chasing people for time and trying to get it submitted. No, it's tremendous. It's tremendous. Go ahead, Julie.
You make me wanna add payments as,
Yeah.
one of your focus areas after you get through, fraud and scheduling and overpayments and all the governance and all the other things on your list. I'm like, "Ooh, I bet there's some really cool stuff in there too."
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, Julie, I can tell you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, well, I know. We're kindred hearts here.
Yeah, we've got some scars, both of us as practitioners, as consultants. We've seen it. We've seen it. Monica, you recently moved after years from finance, and given the massive number that you're processing in payroll, from finance to now reporting for HR, and I know that's very recent. How do you expect that that's going to like what are your expectations for what that's going to do for the relationship with HR and what you guys are what transformation maybe they're going through?
I think it's gonna be a great move for the employee experience because I think as technology is really not the focus the way it used to be, to get things right and to move things forward, I think it's now more about the employee experience.
Yeah. It's easier for the tech to get it right. Back in the day, it was like you had
Yeah.
to make sure that you were getting it right to make sure the tech got it right.
That's right. Now,
Yeah.
I think, and we've always worked so well with our HR team, I think that the focus on the employee experience is going to be a more global
Yeah.
factor that is experienced more broadly.
Are you going through similar transformation on the HR side from a skills perspective and from other areas? Do you know?
I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, do you know if HR is using data the way you are yet?
I think so. I'm not
Yeah.
quite sure.
Yeah,
All
you've got
new
enough on your plate.
in the last week. So
Yeah, no, you'll find out. You'll find out now that you're coming together. I think it's cool. And I know you and I talked a lot about just some of the trends that I'm seeing around the total rewards thing. We've talked about on here, but that is super super impressive. And I think that going forward, is that the driver? Was it employee engagement? Is that the driver for bringing you together?
yeah, employee
Yeah,
engagement and also the total rewards and yeah, that conversation we
yeah,
had. I think there's a huge opportunity for everything with employee experience to be under total rewards.
Yeah.
It's an interesting momentum going forward, and I'm certainly interested in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be curious to see where you evolve to.
And when you say that,
Yeah.
Monica, do you mean, because I have seen organizations, usually much smaller than yours, playing around with taking total rewards, comp and ben, and adding payroll into that mix specifically, right? I mean, I've been seeing it myself too.
Yeah.
And, payroll's always the hot potato. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
imagine total rewards will go down kicking and screaming, right?
But
But
it's a great fit. It's a
it
great
is.
adjacency.
It
It's
is.
just, I mean, you think about like in the UK, I mean, payroll and pensions are often coupled, largely married together in the process. And yeah, it just seems like it's going to make a lot of sense, I think. And we've, right, Danny Kohler
Yes.
Danny Schultz from
Many
Kohler. I was
shots
calling
from
Danny
Phil.
Kohler. Shout out to Danny. But a couple of folks have raised their hand and said, yeah, this is the environment that we're operating in too. So, Monica, I want to ask you maybe just to share some advice, right? One of the things I get asked almost every time I present some of this strategic oriented thought, leadership is, how do I get my leadership to listen to me? How do I get my leadership to take payroll seriously? How do I get a seat at the table when I'm pushing maybe up against a headwind? What would you say to that leader out there?
So for me, it is all about proving a strategic case. And that case could be different based on company. For us, it was about identifying that unnecessary labor spend, monetizing it. And, truth always speaks.
Yeah,
And the truth of real data, elevated and rolled up, and everybody understands it, is what ignited everything
yeah,
at Compass. And
it turns heads.
it does. But I will also say that's number one. That's the flashy bit. That's the shiny ball, right? But the before that is getting payroll right.
Yeah,
And that's not the shiny ball,
Yeah.
but it's so critical. And in getting payroll right, what we found was, because we were so passionate about it, it was all we lived for, was to
yeah,
get and keep payroll right and to move this payroll from 40,000 to now 300,000. And in that, it was the data expertise that led to the second. And being able to show strategic value for us, it was getting rid of unnecessary labor spend and moving into productivity and ultimately into absenteeism.
yeah,
Um, but I think it's about getting payroll right, number one, leveraging the data, and then whatever the company, priorities are, leveraging that, because payroll is typically a very large portion,
yeah,
of any company,
Yeah.
and knowing the metrics along the way. I think as payroll professionals, one thing I noticed early on when I was a payroll professional many years ago, I didn't realize the importance of articulating the metrics and to understand how payroll metrics were a part of the total company strategy
right.
and understanding that.
Are you guys operating in a shared service type environment as payroll?
Yes.
Is that paired with HR, or are they separate?
So right now they're separate, but we have shared service call centers, and
Right.
those will be blended, I'm sure, in the next couple months, years,
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, it sounds like you very much have a center of excellence in some regard, right? I mean,
Yes.
you've harmonized, you've very much got your data to a healthy. I think what the word I would use for what you were describing is foundation. Like, you've got to have a foundation first of trust that you can do your job. If you're not even getting the paychecks right, how's anyone going to believe your reports are right, or that you have credibility? So I think you gain credibility that way, and then you begin to remove emotion by showing and telling a story and saying, "Hey, did you know?" And by the way, and the next thing you know, I experienced that at Disney, right? We were hated. I mean, we were taking control away. Enron happened. Everybody was just in complete chaos. But we started putting data in front of our stakeholders, every quarter, and we started having conversations that started to go bigger and bigger and bigger, and we had more and more people. And as we would move the needle for one business unit, another would go, hey, can you do that for us? Can you help us with that? Can you save us money? And it just became infectious, right? It was like it was like a business. We had people coming to us asking us to do what we were doing for, one by one. So congratulations. I mean, I think this is so amazing. Is there anything that you've learned along the way that you would say you didn't see as a positive outcome, and anything that you learned you're like, I wish I would have done that a little differently, or maybe put a little different pathway to that? Or
Yes, what I didn't see, I always knew we'd get the paychecks right. Totally focused data categorization, root cause, preventative solutions. What I didn't see coming was the data expertise, not only in the data science team that we built over the years, but the peripheral teams. And transforming the tactical payroll skills into more technical skill set. I didn't see that coming. And that's what
yeah,
laid the groundwork for the strategic value that started Smart Labor. And the other thing I didn't see coming was the data focus helped us to control the growth of the payroll team, and supporting 40,000 to
yeah,
3,000
scale,
scalability. I also think that, when I look at what we could have done better, that I really didn't see was more technical, payroll training along the way.
yeah,
There's the APA and the CPP and et cetera. But when you begin to work with a large payroll organization, it becomes difficult because everybody just understands one portion of the payroll organization. And I think that's something that I would like to do better going forward is how do we
yeah,
get people back in the day, you learn every aspect of payroll, and
yeah,
we
yeah,
need to get better at that.
As you're doing that, I know a number of large, complex organizations, and it's probably because as you get a global process owner, right, you start thinking about things in process. But I've seen a little bit of a trend of large organizations, and you have scale, trying to put a focus on dividing the work up by processes and focusing on pre-payroll or the approval process or post-payroll. Is that with so much scale? Is that a logical organization for you guys, or is that not as important as maybe alignment with the opcos?
No, actually, that's a very good point. That's a very good point.
Yeah, so you
yeah,
do end up having some of your teams are kind of focused on one part or the other of the process end to
yeah,
end.
Yeah, and then maybe moving,
Yeah,
having a progression of responsibility and training along the way. Because,
yeah,
in small organizations, you can learn payroll from start to finish,
right.
including the data aspect. In large
yeah,
organizations, it's super difficult.
Yeah, and I
yeah.
guess
It's
you
complicated.
have to be able to fight the life cycle, right? So that not
Yes.
everybody's like one team's busy at this time of the month and the next then they have nothing, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
that's always the operational challenge of that, I think.
Monica, as you go forward with your team, I mean, I would imagine you've got the data scientists, right? I mean, do you have a project manager for all these M&A, or do you guys get support maybe from the business for that? Or, I mean, like, what kind of skills are you looking for as you move forward to staff your team?
So that's a very good question. So, yes, project management is a skill set that we've developed over the years within the team. We have a
Good.
project management team. We also are supported by a larger and broader project management team within the company. But we maintain our own project management team within payroll. So
Okay.
we have a data team, we have a project management team, we have an operations team, and then all the other typical stuff, tax,
Yeah.
etc. But the project team oversees any new project. We also now have added a new team called Simplification, and they work hand in hand with the project team and the data team to make sure that anything and everything that we do keeps everything simplified for our 16,000 unit managers.
I love that. Simplification team.
That has to be the funnest team to be on.
Yeah, I mean that's a very positive thing, right? You're making people's lives better and easier. Yeah, that's phenomenal and more productive, right? At the end, that's the result, right?
That's right. So we look at it threefold, everything. Number one, it's got to be accurate, actually, fourfold. Number one, it's got to be accurate. Number two, simplify everything for the unit manager. Number three, keep us out of the courtroom. And number
Yeah,
four, draw down labor as a percent of revenue. If
yeah,
we hit those four things, we're good.
yeah. Wow,
And our
amazing.
teams are designed around that now.
Will that change? Do you think over time as you get more AI and more tech?
I do think that.
Do you see bringing AI skills into the team, Python, that sort of thing?
Absolutely. And in fact, our data science team now is working directly with our Compass AI team
Oh
to
wow,
gain those specific skill sets. And our data science team is working with the AI team to help generate some of the first case studies as it relates to payroll and HR.
yeah, so impressive, Monica. I love this and congratulations. I mean, you're really living the future. You know, if I had to sum it up in one sentence, I guess. But what does 2026 look like for you and your team? You know, you've got sounds like you have a lot of progress. You got a lot of opportunity that you still want to cover. The new alignment with HR. But what's 2026 going to look like for you guys?
AI,
AI.
two letters, AI.
What are some of the key use cases?
So, number one, the employee experience.
Okay.
So, in our call center, that's a top priority. And then, on the back end, also from productivity, and then over to the managers with productivity and we're working on AI to generate the best schedule. And for a lot of companies where or locations are very similar. For us, my old mentor, Gary Green, CEO, used to always say, if you've seen one unit at Compass, you've seen one unit. Because we operate on our clients' premises. So being able to automate and predict schedules through AI is particularly challenging for us. But
Yeah.
we have a pilot going right now, and the success is incredible. It's already 80% more accurate than in those pilot groups where the managers are producing the schedule. So
Wow.
we are
Yeah.
That's a
super.
huge time savings.
So 2026 is AI.
I just want to call out though, because a lot of folks might say the same, a lot of practitioners might say the same thing and leaders might say the same thing. But Monica, I don't think I've heard as compelling a story of having the foundation in place. I mean, like this is years in the making, and you are 10 in the readiness and preparedness to make AI 2026 your focus. And most companies who are also very, very intelligent are not anywhere near it and
Yeah.
in readiness to take that on. So,
Yeah.
wow.
You've done the work.
Thank you. And I'm a strong believer in it's a progressive journey in developing the technical skill set and understanding the data within payroll and beyond, HR, finance, etc., and really using that. I think we're perfectly positioned for
Yeah, I
AI
agree.
because of it. But I also think we have a journey ahead of us, and nothing is ever perfect, but
Yeah.
we enjoy learning through the process.
How much do you guys invest in change management around all this, Monica? Is that important?
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely huge
Or a
and
priority?
high priority, and I believe in digital change management, which is it's a complement to training and communication.
Yeah.
Digital change management with prescriptive information exactly to the person that needs to make the change
Right.
that you can see on one small on your phone, complemented with training and communication. But that
Yeah.
digital change management is key, and that's what's taken us from 70% to 90% in our smart labor.
Digital adoption.
That's right.
Incredible. Is that a skill set you'll develop in your team, or do you guys have that skill set at Compass, or do you go outside and get help for that?
Internally built it over the years,
Wow.
and it's just out of necessity because we had to get results.
Yeah, I think that's huge, and I don't think most companies think of becoming good at that. And the big firms like this that are constantly changing, I think it would be a great investment. Yet most have to go to a Deloitte or someone to get help because they just don't have it in house, and often just cut it out of a budget or skip it and think, we can communicate, no big deal. We'll send out a memo and everybody will know. It's not enough. It's not enough. Especially with the 5 generations, right? We got 5 different groups of people in
Yes.
the workforce that don't have the same whatever for technology,
Right.
there's a bunch of things you could say there. So, yeah.
Yes.
Wow. This is incredible, Monica. Look, thank you so very much. How can folks get in touch with you to maybe share with you or learn with you or whatever?
I would love to be in touch with anyone, and LinkedIn is a good place.
Okay.
You can also share my information. I think connection with people. We've done what we've done out of necessity. I would love to hear from other people that
Yeah.
have surpassed us, and we learn from each other.
Yeah, I agree. This community is so strong. You nailed it in the beginning. And there's answers out there, right? You don't have to struggle. That's what our show's about, is just trying to show people that there's these things out there and how to think about them. Well, look, Monica, congratulations. I mean, I can't say that enough. I think you've made an incredible progress. You guys are really a model for what payroll needs to be in the future. I think it's very beneficial that you have an organization that sees that and treats you that way and invests in you accordingly. And wow, I want you to come back in another 6 months or a year. Tell us the progress and what's next. I'm so excited to hear more.
I would love that. You and Julie are great. Thank you guys.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you, and thanks for everyone for listening. And we will be back soon with more content.